Friendship is one of the most confusing parts of growing up. When you're young, it feels simple. You meet someone, you laugh together, you spend time together, and you call each other friends. It feels permanent. It feels like you'll know each other forever. But then life starts moving. People change schools, move cities, start dating, build careers, develop new interests, face new struggles. And suddenly the friendship that once felt unbreakable becomes distant, awkward, or completely gone. And if you've ever lost a friendship, it can hurt in a way that's difficult to explain. Sometimes it hurts more than a breakup, because with romantic relationships, people expect endings. With friendships, we often don't. We expect friends to stay. We expect loyalty to last forever. We expect that the people who know us best will always be there. So when a friendship fades, many young people start asking the wrong question. They ask, what did I do wrong? Sometimes you did something wrong, but most of the time, that's not the real reason. The real reason is that most friendships are built for a season, not a lifetime. And that's not a cynical statement. It's a realistic one. Think about the friends you had when you were 10 years old. Then think about the friends you had at 15, then 18, then 21. Chances are the list changed dramatically, not because everyone betrayed you, not because you became a bad person, but because people grow in different directions. One friend becomes focused on academics. Another becomes obsessed with fitness. Another starts a business. Another gets into partying. Another enters a serious relationship. Another struggles with mental health. Another moves away. Another discovers a completely different identity. At first, the friendship survives because you still share history. But eventually history alone isn't enough. Shared past cannot always compensate for a completely different present. And that's one of the hardest truths to accept. History creates connection, but compatibility keeps connection alive. Many friendships don't end because of a dramatic fight. They end because the lives of the two people stop overlapping. Imagine two trains leaving the same station. At the beginning, they're side by side. But if one train heads north and the other heads east, the distance between them grows with every mile. Neither train is wrong. They're simply going to different places. That happens in friendships all the time. Another reason friendships end is that many are built on convenience rather than compatibility. Think about school friendships. You sit in the same classroom every day. You eat lunch together. You see each other constantly. Proximity creates familiarity. Familiarity often feels like deep friendship, but when school ends, the structure disappears. Suddenly nobody is forcing you to spend time together, and some friendships vanish almost immediately. This doesn't mean the friendship was fake. It means the environment was doing more work than you realized. College friendships can be similar. Workplace friendships too. Shared location creates connection. Remove the location, and you discover whether the relationship has deeper roots. There's also another uncomfortable truth. Many friendships are built around a shared version of yourself. Maybe you were the funny one, the quiet one, the athlete, the gamer, the rebel, the overachiever, the people pleaser. Your friends became attached to that version of you. Then you changed. You became more ambitious, more disciplined, more confident, more serious, more honest, more selective. And suddenly the dynamic shifted. Some friends celebrate your growth. Others feel threatened by it because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. For example, if you decide to stop wasting time and start building a better life, the people who still want to waste time may become uncomfortable around you, not because you're judging them, simply because your choices reflect possibilities they don't want to face. Growth changes relationships. Sometimes it strengthens them. Sometimes it ends them. One of the biggest mistakes young people make is assuming that every friendship deserves unlimited loyalty. Loyalty is important, but loyalty without boundaries becomes self-destruction. If a friend constantly disrespects you, manipulates you, humiliates you, uses you, or drains your energy, staying isn't loyalty. It's self-neglect. A real friendship should make your life better more often than it makes it worse. That doesn't mean friendships are always easy. Every close relationship experiences conflict, but healthy conflict leads to understanding. Toxic conflict becomes a cycle. Another reason friendships end is unequal investment. One person is always initiating, always texting first, always making plans, always checking in, always showing up. Eventually they get tired. People don't usually leave because of one ignored message. They leave because of a pattern that tells them they're not a priority. Effort reveals importance. When someone values a relationship, they make space for it. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consistently. Consistency matters more than intensity. Some friendships feel incredibly close for short periods. You talk every day, share everything, spend all your time together. But intensity can create an illusion of permanence. Once life becomes busy, the friendship has no stable foundation and fades quickly. On the other hand, some strong friendships don't require constant communication. You can go weeks or months without talking and still reconnect naturally. The difference is trust, mutual respect, and genuine care. Another major reason friendships end is competition. People don't like admitting this, but jealousy exists in friendships. Sometimes a friend is happy for you until your success becomes undeniable. They were comfortable when you were struggling together. They're less comfortable when you start moving ahead. Suddenly they become critical, dismissive, sarcastic, less supportive. Not because you become a bad person, because your progress triggers their insecurity. This doesn't mean you should hide your success. It means you should pay attention to how people react when good things happen to you. Someone who truly cares about you can celebrate your wins without making them about themselves. Social media has also changed friendships. We see curated versions of everyone's life. We compare constantly. We feel left out when friends hang out without us. We assume everyone else has stronger friendships than we do. But social media is a highlight reel, not reality. Many friendships that look perfect online are shallow in real life. And many deep friendships barely appear online at all. Don't measure the quality of your relationships by photos and stories. Measure them by trust, support, honesty, and presence during difficult times. One painful realization of adulthood is that not everyone who was there during your beginning belongs in your future. Some people are companions for a chapter, not the entire book. And that's okay. The goal of life is not to keep every friendship forever. The goal is to learn, grow, and build relationships that align with who you're becoming. Holding on to every connection can actually prevent growth. Imagine carrying every backpack you've ever owned. Eventually, the weight becomes unbearable. Relationships require maintenance, time, energy, attention. You cannot deeply maintain dozens of friendships while also building career, taking care of yourself, pursuing goals, and managing adult responsibilities. As people mature, they naturally become more selective. That isn't necessarily becoming cold. It's recognizing limits. Another reason friendships end is unspoken expectations. One person expects constant availability. Another values independence. One expects emotional support during every crisis. Another doesn't know how to provide it. One expects honesty. Another avoids difficult conversations. When expectations remain unspoken, disappointment grows. Healthy friendships often require communication that many young people avoid. Instead of discussing problems, people withdraw. They become passive-aggressive. They stop responding. They hope the other person will somehow understand. Silence kills many friendships long before the official ending happens. There's also the issue of identity transitions. Teenagers and young adults change rapidly. The person you are at 16 may be very different from the person you are at 22. Your values, priorities, beliefs, and goals evolve. Some friendships adapt to those changes. Others don't. For example, a friendship built entirely around partying may struggle if one person becomes focused on health and discipline. A friendship built around complaining may weaken when one person starts taking responsibility for their life. Change creates friction. The question is whether both people are willing to grow together. Many aren't. And here's something important. Not all friendship endings are failures. Sometimes a friendship did exactly what it was supposed to do. It provided support during a specific period of life. It taught you lessons. It gave you memories. Then its role ended. We often judge relationships only by whether they lasted forever. But duration isn't the only measure of value. A friendship can be meaningful even if it eventually ends. Think about teachers. Some influence your life enormously for 1 year. You may never speak to them again, but their impact remains. Friendships can be similar. Another difficult truth is that some friendships survive only because one person is shrinking themselves. They hide their ambitions, downplay their success, avoid difficult conversations, suppress their personality. They become smaller to keep the friendship comfortable. Eventually, they feel exhausted. Real friendship should not require self-erasure. You should be able to grow without needing permission. One sign that a friendship may be ending is when interactions become obligation instead of joy. You dread responding. You feel drained after every conversation. You keep the connection alive mainly because of guilt or history. History is powerful, but it shouldn't become a prison. Sometimes people stay connected because they fear being seen as disloyal. But loyalty to the past should not come at the cost of your future. This doesn't mean abandoning people the moment things become difficult. It means recognizing the difference between temporary challenges and persistent incompatibility. Friendships also end because life introduces competing priorities. A teenager may have endless hours to spend with friends. A young adult may suddenly be balancing work, study, family responsibilities, relationships, finances, and personal goals. Time becomes scarce. When time becomes scarce, people reveal what matters most to them. Sometimes a friendship remains important. Sometimes it becomes secondary. Sometimes both people quietly accept the distance. Not every drifting friendship requires a dramatic confrontation. Some simply fade naturally. The mistake is taking every fade as a personal rejection. Sometimes it's just life. Of course, there are friendships that end because of betrayal, lying, gossip, manipulation, broken trust. Those endings are different. They hurt deeply because they damage not only the relationship, but also your ability to trust. But even then, one lesson remains crucial. Protecting your peace is not cruelty. Forgiveness and access are not the same thing. You can forgive someone and still decide they no longer belong in your inner circle. Trust, once broken, may be rebuilt, but it requires genuine accountability and change. Empty apologies are not repair. So what should you do when a friendship ends? First, don't immediately assume you're unlovable. People outgrow relationships. Lives diverge. Priorities change. That is part of being human. Second, examine the situation honestly. Was there something you could have handled better? If yes, learn from it. Growth matters. But don't turn every ending into evidence that you're fundamentally flawed. Third, avoid chasing people who repeatedly show they don't want the same level of connection. Effort should flow both ways. Relationships cannot be sustained by one person's desperation. Fourth, focus on building a life that naturally attracts healthier friendships. Develop interests. Pursue goals. Improve your communication. Become reliable. Become someone you would want as a friend. The strongest friendships are often built between people who have their own lives, values, and direction. They're not clinging to each other out of loneliness. They're choosing each other out of genuine connection. And finally, understand that friendship quality matters more than friendship quantity. A few honest, supportive, trustworthy friends are worth more than hundreds of shallow connections. As you get older, you may notice that your circle becomes smaller. That can feel scary at first. But a smaller circle is not necessarily a worse one. Sometimes it's simply a more intentional one. Depth replaces breadth. Clarity replaces noise. Peace replaces constant drama. If you're currently grieving a friendship, remember this. Losing a friendship does not erase the good moments you shared. The memories were real. The laughter was real. The support was real. A relationship can be meaningful and still have an ending. And if you're worried that everyone eventually leaves, don't become cynical. The goal is not to stop trusting people. The goal is to trust wisely. Some friendships will fade. Some will disappoint you. Some will end painfully. But some will survive distance, time, conflict, and change. Those are the relationships worth protecting. Not every friend is meant to stay forever. But the right ones will make your life richer while they're there, and a rare few will keep walking beside you as both of you become different people over time. That's why most friendships end. Not because every friendship is fake, Not because people are evil, but because life changes, people change, priorities change, and relationships either adapt to those changes or they don't. And understanding that isn't depressing. It's freeing. Because once you stop expecting every friendship to last forever, you can start appreciating the people who choose to stay, while also having the courage to let go of the connections that no longer fit the life you're building. That is one of the most important lessons adulthood teaches us. Friendships are not measured only by how long they last. They're measured by what they teach you, how they shape you, and whether they help you become a better version of yourself. Some friendships are chapters. A few become lifelong stories. The wisdom is knowing the difference.